Hey everyone, welcome back to Lumber Capital Log Yard. Today I'm in the woods with the boss here and we are going to be showing some of the tools you need for cutting timber. But before we dive on into it, remember to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram at lumbercapital07.
Well, Em has me roped into doing another video. She asked me if we would talk about some of the equipment that I use and why I use it when I'm felling trees. And you can see it's all orange, which of course is for safety. So there's some high-vis products here. Let's start with the belt I wear. When I'm felling a tree, I wear this belt, and it is fairly heavy. A lot of loggers don't like them this bulky, but it gets the job done and I like it. I think it's cool too. I use this axe and I'm able to carry everything I need right here. I use a Spencer 50-foot tape, and the tape can hook on the end of the log. You can twist that over and you can actually hook it into wood. And then when I go down the log, I score the log with my chainsaw, wrapping it around the tree, marking it at the length of the logs. And then of course your logs are 8, 10s, 12s, 16s maybe, and you add 3 or 4 inches of change to every one, so they're a little over those lengths. I reset every 2 logs, so in case there's a limb or a twist or something in the tree, I'm able to make sure that I'm getting an accurate measurement. Where if you stretch that tape out over 50 feet, just the sag of the tape alone can put your last logs off. And I've actually had logs come into the yard that I paid a 12-foot log for, and they were 11 feet 11 inches. I won't name the loggers' names, but there were 2 of them that sent short wood. I don't buy from them anymore. I use 2 tapes. I'm probably the only logger that does that. So I have one on each side. And I do that for 2 reasons. If a tape breaks, I have another one right there with me. And I don't know if you can see how steep this is, but this is indicative of where I'm working. It's very, very, very steep. I mean, just to step over the bank and you can see you're right down. And when I go down a tree, sometimes, especially in cutting hemlock, the limbs might be leaning heavy on one side. So if I have the tape and I'm going down one side of the tree, I can have the tape behind me and I can walk right down. Where if I'm on the other side of the tree and there's limbs, a lot of times they're twist, and you know, you're a lot of times walking down backwards. So if you turn, now your tape's twisted around you and your saw's right there, and it's very easy to cut through a tape. I cut through them more than I'd like to admit. It's usually at the end of the day when I'm starting to get tired. So we have the belt here, and I'll show you a couple other things, a couple other tools. I have my wedge pouch. I carry 3 wedges. I try and always carry a short, fat 5-inch wedge. It does a lot of heavy lifting, and if you're cutting a small tree, of course it's not in the tree as much. You can see this wedge has been hit by the chainsaw several times, so it's a little short. I'll use it yet for a little bit before I throw it out. But these are the standard wedges I use. This is actually a metal headed wedge. It's called a hard head, and I like using them because when you hit metal on metal, you're getting a lot of purchase when you're pounding that wedge into the tree. The only bad part about this wedge is eventually the head will break off. It does have a shaft that runs a long way through it, but it actually will break at the shaft. You can still use the wedge, but it's not a cool red and yellow anymore. I keep a counter on the back of my wedge pouch, and it's very easy around 1:30 to 2 o'clock to think you have a lot of work done, but numbers don't lie, do they? So I keep a counter on my wedge, and I'm able to see how many trees I have cut that day, and you know, depending on when I started and what the terrain is, I you know, I usually have a goal when I begin the day, and then I'm able to see if I'm meeting it or not. Of course, everybody that runs a saw knows what that is. Again, I have an orange one. If you've ever laid one of these down in the woods, it's so nice to have a painted one because they disappear quickly. And that's just your saw tool. And then the other thing, last time I did a video like this, a lot of people commented because I keep a paintbrush. And of course, you saw me use the paintbrush to clean the fill caps off the saw because a lot of dirt and debris goes in there. That fuel tank's only a small little tank, but the amount of dirt around that fill cap after one tank's worth of fuel is substantial. So I think it's worth cleaning off. And I don't do it every time, but I do it most times. I do not use a full-length axe. I use a short axe, and what is unique about this axe to me, other loggers use different ones, is this is a single piece of steel. So the axe, the hammer, and the handle are one solid piece. There's a lot of safety issues out here, and one issue you don't want is that axe head flying off, and I have had many snap off over the course of time. They get loose, the hickory handles break, so I will not use a wood handle. It has to be a solid piece of forged steel. It's well worth the investment. When I went to this, I quit buying axes, and I think I've had this for 5 years now instead of replacing it every year. So if you're willing to go spend 40 bucks instead of 15 or 18, you know, you can get a nice piece that will last a good long time. Of course, I wear a safety helmet. This is a company I found, I think they're European. It's called Protos. It's very comfortable. I love it. It's just a great helmet. It has great ear protection. It's adjustable as far as your tension goes. Very easy to click it in and out, to pull it off and on. The earphones click in and out, and then it has a safety visor. I don't wear safety glasses when I'm cutting. I don't care what you wear, you get debris in your eyes, but the shield keeps out about 90% of it. And this helmet, the shield is sealed above the top, which is a vast improvement. Husqvarna and different ones have used a piece of light material to go in there. It's always sloppy, it gets holes in it, it rips. I just thought this was a really well-designed, comfortable helmet. Another thing I wanted to show you is my saw itself. And I use a Husqvarna 390 XP. I'm not going to argue with you over a Steel over a Husqvarna. I think they're both great saws. When you get into the XP, the Pro Series Husqvarna, I don't think you can beat them. They're a great machine. Generally, the loggers in our area use a 372 or a 390. I use all 390s, and they are heavier. There's a lot more horsepower. But one of the things that I like about it is this is my felling saw. I have another one identical in the truck, and that would be my buck saw. So the saw that I cut the trees with in the woods is not the saw that I use when I'm skidding the logs in and bucking the logs up on the landing. I always keep two different saws, and the better saw always goes with me in the woods. Again, I'm very fond of this saw. I've had, I don't know at this point, 12 or 15 of them. I have plenty of parts always in inventory because we always cannibalize our old ones so we can, you know, keep the new ones going. So this is the last thing I want to show you about the saw. I use a 20-inch bar. A lot of guys use a 24-inch bar. I use a 20. You can cut any tree in Pennsylvania with this setup. I've never had an issue. And one of the reasons I like the 20 is if you're standing upright and you drop that saw, your toes are out of the way. Where if you start getting into a 24 or 28-inch bar, that saw is right at your toes. The other thing a 20-inch bar does is that when you're felling a tree, it forces you on most Pennsylvania trees to stand on both sides of the tree. So your second side or your last side that you cut is always your safety side. And that forces you to be circumspect around the tree when you're cutting it. If you only walk up to a tree, especially at the end of the day, it's very easy to get lazy. And if you have a longer bar, you don't have to, you may be able to cut it from one side. And I know if other loggers are watching this, a lot of you are going to leave a bunch of comments about it. And I get it. It's my technique. I like it. It works for me. I'm still alive and I've been uninjured. So whatever works for you is good. If you have questions about it, leave them in the comments. I will personally try to respond to it. I don't use any special chain. It's just organ chain. I use a decent bar. When the bar fails, I don't generally re-tip it. I throw it out. If I do put a new tip on a bar, it never goes in the woods with me. It would be used for the other saw for bucking logs. Again, it's just a standard Husqvarna 390 XP. Great machine. And I've never had one blow up. And like I said, I've owned 12 or 14 of them. I wear them out cosmetically before I wear out the saw itself. So great machine, a little heavy. I think it weighs 16 pounds with the fuel and oil in it. So it does get pretty heavy going up and down the hills. But again, a really good machine and well worth it if you're logging. I mean, I'm being a little long-winded. But if people had shown me this when I was starting, it would have saved me a lot of times. I built this. This is just standard 2-inch, and it matches up with your standard truck receiver. So it just, you know, you put it in your receiver, and now you have a vise. And this is the station then where I sharpen the saws. So instead of being down on my hands and knees, I know a lot of loggers do that. The ground's almost always either cold or wet, and I don't like sharpening a saw on my knees. So it puts the saw right there at a very comfortable work height. And I would rather change a chain in the woods than try and sharpen in the woods. It also gives you a good platform to work on the saw if you need to get to the air filter and stuff. It's just sitting right there. It makes it very easy. A lot of times I'll spray the saw down the inside of it, clean the carburetor off. I don't do it that often, but I absolutely do it when I change air filters and stuff. I've been in the dozer all day, so I have my oldest pair of boots on, and you can see they have no treads on the bottom at all. These are logging boots, and there's a very specific reason logging boots call it a logger. It has a very aggressive heel on it, and any logger will tell you that heel is a tool, and you hook it on your ladders getting up and down in and out of your machinery. You're all the time using it to get purchase, especially on steep terrain. Now, I'm not wearing these boots at this site because it's too steep. I wear a pair of caulk boots, and if it's steep or if it is wet, I always wear these. I love them. They're extremely comfortable. They don't have as high a heel. because you don't need it with the spikes on the bottom or the caulks. But they really, I don't know if I could even log this site without them. When the tree is on the ground and it's on the slope, I'll use the tree to go up and down the bank because the grade of the terrain around here is too steep, and you can't get up it. Trying to get your saw, 15-pound saw, back up it and stuff is just crazy. So I'm able to walk right up the tree with these, and they are well worth the investment. Nobody wants to own an extra pair of boots, but I wouldn't log without them. And if I don't need them, they just sit in the truck, and it is absolutely amazing. You wouldn't think you could do it, but those boots have no tread on them, and they have never been on asphalt. That's all from being out here in the woods. They just get torn up. I don't know what happens there, getting in and out of one of the machines. So yeah, your foot attire is pretty important.
That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.